Well, joining me now is Mr. Mike Ejiofor, a former director of the Department of State Services. Mr. Mike Ejiofor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's begin now with the latest removal of the service chiefs inherited by the President Muhammadu Buhari. And of course, there's been several reactions, including the fact that it might just be coming late. Do you share this opinion?
Well, the postings or appointments is long overdue. We've been expecting it, but it's better late than never, because I believe that Mr. President should settle down, get sufficient brief from the outgoing service chiefs to enable him to know their challenges, their successes, and it will now enable him to draw up his own chart and the way forward, especially in this case of insurgency that we're facing. So I think it's a welcome development that it has come.
You saw the names released, and the whole, the entire packaging. Is this the right mix of people, do you think? Honestly
speaking, I think this appointment made by Mr. President is one of the best in recent times.
Interesting.
Because, first of all, if you recall that the Chief of Army Staff, who was the commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force, is from Borno. The National Security Advisor is also from Borno. So it's a blend that will definitely produce results. It's not as if we've not been getting results, but it will build confidence among the people of the Northeast geopolitical zone that this is our own. So they will give them all the necessary support. If they succeed, well, it's to their credit. If they fail, God forbid, it's also their own failure. So I think it's a well thought out appointment by Mr. President. And if you look at the personalities involved, especially the service chiefs, they are tested officers. And from their records, we're going to get some good results. If you also look at, it's like placing the people where they rightly belong. The Chief of Naval Staff is from Crossfire, which is south-south. And we have challenges in the Niger Delta over crude oil theft and the rest of them. So I think a lot of things were put into consideration before the appointments were made.
You see, but strangely enough, barely 24 hours after these appointments, particularly that of the NSA, Mongono, we see fresh attacks from Boko Haram sect, killing over 40 people, and we're wondering if this was a direct, attack on the president, or what exactly do you make of it?
The fact remains that these people, the Boko Haram insurgents, they don't believe in modern government or democracy. So each time government makes move to checkmate their activities, they also have a corresponding reaction to show, yes, we are still in existence. And I think that is just how it can be explained. That if you recall that before the election, the former government shifted the election to enable them clear the area, especially the Sambisa forest. And the military took the war to them. And we achieved results. So it's not the issue of they coming to attack now or taking territories, but our military sustaining and maintaining their position. And that accounts now for what we are seeing now, sporadic attacks and suicide bombings, because the central command seems to have been decimated. So there's no proper control. And the intention or objective of any terrorist group is to create fear and panic. This is exactly what they are doing. But I believe these are signs to show that they are coming to their end.
You see, the arrival of President Buhari came with very, very high expectations. And right now, people are forced to retrace their steps. If you look at the social media and many other people's opinions about how he has tackled national security, what's your assessment?
You see, the fact remains that when Mr. President came in, even during the campaign, there were a lot of expectations. The expectations were very, very high. And the expectations are still very high. But if you look at the coloration of the people that came to form APC, it becomes a problem for Mr. President. So he has to be very careful in choosing his team before he creates problem for himself, which will also be a security problem. And as a retired general, an elder statesman, he should be seen to be taking the right decisions at the right time. So I think you should be giving time to look at critically the appointments he makes. Take, for instance, now the service chiefs. I think the general impression is that these are well thought out appointments. Of course, there's no way he can please everybody. If you go online, you hear people saying that Southeast is left out and others are. There are many appointments to be made. And I believe that anybody or any section of the country that's left out now will be accommodated in subsequent appointments. So let's get our security right, because without enabling environment, security environment, there cannot be any meaningful development. So I think we should get our security right before we embark on other things.
Are you also trying to say that maybe the strife in APC, among APC members, could be responsible for his slow approach to appointing his cabinet? Of
course. We shouldn't shy away from it, because he has to satisfy various political interests. But where I disagree or want to advise Mr. President is to be very careful. To be very careful before a cabal emerges. Because I think that was the intention of the original conveners of APC, to hijack the government. But with his experience, it's going to be difficult. So he must satisfy the various interests, putting the political interest and national interest with security interest together to ensure that they move forward. But I think it's a very difficult choice, very difficult situation Mr. President has found himself. So I believe Nigerians should see reasons. But because Nigerians, he enjoyed the overwhelming goodwill of the people will always be on his side. Except, of course, he dashes those hopes that he has put into people.
But you see, right now, Nigerians have been left astounded at the heightened onslaught right now by Boko Haram sect. Just before his arrival, at least there was, we could see that fight against the insurgents, build up, and the insurgency really ebbed, to a certain level. And right now it appears we're back to square one. What do you think is going on?
And that's the point I earlier made. You see, there could be so many reasons. One is a transitional period. The government, the cabinet has not been formed. So the people want to show you, well, we are still potent. The insurgents will say, we are still potent. But they are not as potent as they used to be. And that is why they are now using soft targets, using young girls, bombing places. But with law inactivities, and I think with these recent appointments, we're expecting few changes of ideas and approaches in the security architecture. Because one, the insurgents will want to create fear and panic among the populace. Like I said earlier, you recall that the central command of Boko Haram has been decimated. So there's no central control now, and everybody is to their tents, Israel, who continue to bomb places and try to create impression that they're still in control. But definitely they can't be in control for too long again.
And it even appears as though the sect has adopted a new approach using female suicide bombers. Should the president also reconsider the approach they might be using right now in tackling the sect?
Yeah, you see, the approach, we have to change our approach this time, because we were fighting Boko Haram. It's an asymmetric war. You don't have defined enemies that you are fighting. But now, the approach we need to is to get the people involved, for the people to be extra vigilant. And I believe that is why Mr. President also made the choice of his service chiefs, for people to come from the area that is adversely affected in the area. So we need to mobilize our people. I can tell you that it's almost difficult, even though some cases have succeeded in Kano, because the people of Kano are always ready to mobilize their people against the insurgents. So I think that we should adopt that kind of approach, to mobilize the people, sensitize them, to know the people, to be conscious of their environment. Because these people are not, they're human beings. They live in houses, they don't live in forests, they live with people, the explosives they carry, they get it there. And the parents too should be in position to monitor the activities of their children, especially these young girls. Because I don't see any mature person or my age now, you come and tell me to go and strap me with explosives to go and do that. So these people, these children that are being used are innocent of what they are actually doing. So parents should be very careful, monitor the activities of their wards. I think that's very critical in our next approach.
Very well. We're still with a former director of the Department of State Services, Mr. Mike Ejiofor. We're back on the issue of removal of security chiefs and, of course, what it portends for the nation. Stay with us.
Total defense is the defense by all citizens for their fatherland. And this can be re-emphasized now and re-propagated, that all citizens must be aware and must be conscious and must be alert of whatever happens around them.